Welcome to the Big Barton Film Show on Barton FM, online and on digital, with me, Sudip, Bhaduri, your movie host. The lockdown has been slightly eased. How are you all coping? And are you staying safe and following the guidelines? Going back in time again this week, now that the cinemas are still yet to open, we're going back to 1988. What was going on in your life? I recall very well buying my first house outside Skegness. It was a two-bedroom bungalow in a village called Hogsthorpe. And what was going on in the news? Well, disaster struck on the Piper Alpha platform oil rig in the North Sea, very close to Scotland. Do you remember that? 167 people sadly died, and the company which owned it, Occidental Oil, had several lawsuits against them. Radio 1 DJs Mike Smith and Sarah Green, who were engaged to be married, were injured in a helicopter crash, actually piloted by Smith in Gloucestershire. Both made a good recovery. The Prince of Wales narrowly escaped death after an avalanche hit his ski party in the Swiss Alps, which tragically killed one of his friends, Major Hugh Lindsay. The MP Paddy Ashdown, former Royal Marine, was chosen to lead the new SDP party, with a landslide win for him. A very capable leader, I must say. And the England Cricket Tour of India was cancelled because of some affiliations with South Africa of that particular cricket party, including Graham Gooch, who played in a rebel tour in 1982. Apartheid was still rife. And don't forget that notorious incident at the Seoul Olympics where 100-metre gold medalist Ben Johnson of Canada was stripped of his title due to the use of stanozolol, an anabolic steroid. He'd smashed the world record, beating Carl Lewis and Linford Christie, and yet he was declared a cheat of the highest order. So what about the movie scene? Well, Tom Hanks starred in the fairly hilarious Big Smash called Big. Bill and Ted made their debut in An Excellent Adventure. There's a reunion film which is on hold. Phil Collins made his movie debut as the great train robber Buster Edwards. Jodie Foster was in Oscar-winning form as a woman who was raped in The Accused. Tim Burton masterminded the hilarious ghost comedy Beetlejuice with Michael Keaton, destined for big things later on. And Frank Drebin, that character from the Naked Gun Police Squad files on TV, played by Leslie Nielsen, made his debut on screen in the rip-roaring Naked Gun Part 1 from the files of Police Squad. So what about my three top films this year? Number 3, Dead Ringers, a really chilling horror film with Jeremy Irons, directed by David Cronenberg at his best. A fascinating tale about twin gynecologists who share each other's lives in every way, inspired by the real-life tale of twin gynecologists who were found dead in their New York City flat, which was garbage-strewn in 1975. Very cold, unsettling, dark comedy at times, and the movie asks questions about the nature of individual identity mixed in with narcissism and eroticism. One of Jeremy Irons' best ever in his illustrious career. Number 2, Midnight Run, great action comedy from the director of Beverly Hills Cop, Martin Brest, starring Robert De Niro and Charles Grodin. Foul-mouthed bounty hunter Jack Walsh, played by De Niro, is hired by bail bondsman to bring back a mafia accountant called Mardukas, played by Grodin, from New York to LA. He had embezzled $15 million from the mob, but on the trip they're being pursued by the mob for revenge. Great byplay by the lead, spot-on music by Danny Elfman, an underrated crackerjack action comedy. But my film of the year, Dangerous Liaisons, made by Stephen Frears, who went on to direct The Queen, starring John Malkovich, Glenn Close, Michelle Pfeiffer, and a very young Uma Thurman, based on the famous play by Christopher Hampton. In the 18th century, an unscrupulous, nasty woman manipulates the lives around her. Think The Favourite in recent years. Sexual seductions and vengeance all over the place. The vernacular style of the movie allows it to connect easily, I think, with present-day morals, sexual politics and thirst for power. And Glenn Close was at her utmost best. So my film of the year, Dangerous Liaisons. Dangerous Liaisons was nominated for Best Film and Best Actress, Glenn Close. Best Supporting Actress, Michelle Pfeiffer. This was Stephen Frears' first American venture, having had a great career so far on home soil. Superb costume design, but it's a classic tale of depravity, cruelty and deceit. And once again, as I said before, a tasty, delicious piece of nastiness by Glenn Close, far better than her role in Fatal Attraction. Also released this year, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Remember that? Made by Bob Zemeckis, combining live action with animation, all set in Toontown, with the sultry Toon Jessica Rabbit, voiced by Kathleen Turner, starred Christopher Lloyd and Bob Hoskins. Clint Eastwood directed Forrest Whitaker as the brilliant saxophonist Charlie Bird Parker in Bird. John Cleese teamed up with his fellow Python, Michael Palin, together with Jamie Lee Curtis and Kevin Kline in the very funny Fish Called Wanda. And there was great chemistry on show between Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise in Rain Man, story all about a brother who has autism, which went on to Oscar success in 1989. I was disappointed with Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, with only Sean Connery standing out like a sore thumb. Bill Murray tried his best in the modern version of Scrooge, and Tom Cruise was below par in the very, very mediocre Cocktail. The worst films included Arthur 2 on the Rocks and a bonkers alien comedy, Mac and Me. The least said, the better. I did enjoy Buster, and Phil Collins proved himself a very capable actor on screen. He did appear in 2 episodes of Miami Vice in the mid-80s as well, which may have swung the directors to choose his very affable style and affable nature. And he is a great musician, of course. Movie news: there was a major scriptwriter strike which eventually ended in August this year, and the losses to the film studios amassed over $150 million, all about pay recognition and overlooking the independent screenwriters. And it still goes on. There was controversy over Martin Scorsese's Last Temptation of Christ, starring Willem Dafoe. There were violent protests across the world, threats of bomb attacks against the church. One scene stirred hatred: Jesus Christ dreaming on the cross, getting passionate and close with Mary Magdalene. And this was banned in several countries. And I have to say, I have not seen the film to this particular date yet. At the Oscars, the best actor was Michael Douglas for his portrayal of Gordon Gekko in Wall Street. Best actress was Cher. Best Supporting Actress, Olympia Dukakis. Both appeared in Moonstruck, very nice movie. The Best Film and Best Director was The Last Emperor, made by Bernardo Bertolucci, about a piece of history in China. And Best Supporting Actor was Sean Connery for his brilliant role as the cop Malone in The Untouchables. And there was a Lifetime Award for the great Billy Wilder, who made superb films in the 40s and 50s, like Some Like It Hot, On the Waterfront, and The Apartment. We had to say farewell to some brilliant actors. Trevor Howard, one of our best British actors, he passed away. The male actor who used to dress as women all the time, Divine, died after soon making Hairspray. Director was John Waters. The guy who played Goldfinger, Gert Frobe, died at the age of 78. And John Carradine, father of David Carradine, a top horror actor, said farewell to us all. The top-selling films at the box office: well, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Coming to America with Eddie Murphy, and Big, starring Tom Hanks. That's just about it from me for 1988. I hope you will stay well and stay safe. Thanks for listening. See you next week.